Hello and welcome to our fourth session of Free from the Yoke. If you watch the first three of these, I don't need to do too much preamble. If you're popping in at this point, I'd go back and watch at least the last show, at least the last episode where things got hairy. This is a Legacy Life Among the Ruins subversion. It's a standalone game based on kind of low fantasy, mythic Russia and that sort of regional area. It's kind of streamlined from Legacy, which is a generational game. The session itself is part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. The Gauntlet Hangouts is an online gaming community. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. If you're looking around like, how do I get to be playing online games because I'm stuck at home, that's a good place to start. Go there, take a look around. Lots of good people there. We have a calendar, Patreon supports it, all kinds of things. Lots of videos like these to show off lots of different games. So last time we ended in a scene where an objective had been fulfilled. That one of the lords of the Order of Nikolenko, a lord named Osvaldo, Warden Osvaldo, he had been tracked down, and there was a battle that went on, and lots of people died in the course of that battle. But Osvaldo was killed, and in the aftermath of that, we saw our wandering teacher. That's probably how I want to call him. Our wandering teacher, Dedushka, come there, be horrified to see this happening, and we'll go and find the head of Osvaldo and find the blade, the thing that had been stolen. We'd had one more scene after that of a kind of a dark fate that begins to hover over Waldemar. But where we're taking up now, Tyler, you have a scene you want to frame with this.
Yes, having trudged through this battlefield over bodies, looking to see if there's anyone who has survived that's there, and my guess is I've come maybe a day afterwards, and I can see that any that would have survived have already now passed. It almost looks to me like this was a complete, kill on both sides, since the sword is still there as I look over and there's Osvaldo, and seeing the head, seeing the blade, I pick up the blade and think for a few minutes, and then kind of in disgust pick up his head and put it into a bag, and begin trudging away from this scene, trudging back towards the Arbiter's citadel, since that's where I'm to take it. And in kind of thought bubble, you could see the anger that clearly his house did not trust him to handle this, that they ended up still coming in, bringing forces and flubbing this completely up. And as, the trudging, the sky gets darker and into the forest, and I think Dedushka kind of is used to living rough. He's used to trusting in the land, so he finds one of these enormous oaks and kind of crouches down amidst the roots, pulling his outfit up over him, and it's almost like he disappears into the dirt, into the wood, and as he kind of holds that head at his chest and the sword there beside him, he opens himself up into the land, into this forest, asking the spirits, why must this happen? Why did this have to befall? And why, what has led the teacher so astray? As I begin to sleep.
So in that sleep, it is restless. It is bloody. It is rough and gory in this place, and you will see the old gods, like the old ones, the ones that names are almost maybe forgotten. Uh, that the ones from before this faith came from the further east, and you see them hammering and chaining down the the lords of the Fae.
Mm.
And then you see time pass and you see those gods walk away as that light that shines, that comes from that, as the gods become part of the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel the earth turning as the Fae turn restlessly in their sleep and pull against their chains.
All right. Thank you.
Does that seem like a fair answer?
Oh, I should say so.
All right, then. So let me give you the opportunity. If anyone else wants to do a character scene before we go to court, does anyone else have a thing they want to do? Okay. So we cut forward. Some time has passed. We've gone into summer. Some of the places have had a bounty. Some people have some crops, but a lot of people are still caught in not having land, and a lot of trade, and those issues kind of pushing on. Uh, the court gathers around the Arbiter. Again, we see that the first of some of these portraits of the various wardens and governors of the different land have been brought forth as a gift to the Arbiter. And other factions are there, making their case and talking about what has gone on. Again, in this point, Valdemar, you are acting as the representative of the city there by the Forge of the Earth. That woman, Contessa, the Contessa would have sent you as
Lucelli.
as her representative, Licelli, to here. So you've kind of pulled that into the fold of your family, as it were. We'll also probably see on screen for the first time the Arbiter's Falcon, Iljana, with dressed in sort of a stylish messenger garb, weapons at her side. No one knows what is the weapon that she came away with. No one has seen it and lived to tell the tale, or at least that's the rumor, but no one knows for sure. But she is the right hand lieutenant for the Arbiter at this point. So we roll probably the same castle. We see it in a set slightly differently light. There's definitely more food out on the table for people, more bounty. And at that point, we will go to the house moves, and we will see what comes of those. So let's start this time. Let's start with Josh this time with our horse lords. What is your favor right now?
Currently, my favor is at +1.
Okay, then you should be great. Should be no problem.
Yeah.
If you would roll holding court.
Where is the roll for your party?
Oh, let
link?
me find that now. Where did I put
Lines and
it?
Veils.
Oh, Lines of Veils, thank you.
All right, thank you. That is an 8.
That is an 8. On a 7 to 9, they have something they need from you. The Arbiter comes to you, and I expect that you yourself are present in this conversation, Ekaterina, but there are probably some other people. And the Arbiter says, last time I spoke of our great project of bringing Sneadosh in, and I gifted you with a handsome responsibility for the kingdom, something to give you some pull and weight, perhaps for people not to view you as barbarians, as just horsemen, but people who have weight in this. No one has yet contributed to the cause. I've had no one pitch in on this. That's disappointing to me, especially as I hear that rather than pitch in, you look to your own interests north of Sneadosh.
Yekaterina nods. I think she's caught off guard, definitely. And she nods. She says, "Indeed, it is vital for our own people that after the sacrifices we made fighting for you, with you, and with your comrades, with the men who served Nikolenko, well, we have our own people to look after too. I cannot look after everyone in this nation. I apologize, but it is important not only to look after the whole, but the individual."
This is interesting and not something that was brought up before. If you had protestations, if you had questions, they should have been brought up last time when this came on. Or
It
at the
is
very
not a
least,
protestation.
at the very least, you should have come and said, Arbiter, this is what we wish to do. Now, I know that you are there in the lands north of Sneadosh. You have brought in some of those people who were on the margins. I consider that a net good. I know that amongst those people there, that they have some of the finest sheep, the finest wool-making sheep. I would like you to bring a herd of those sheep here to the center of the land so that we may breed. We want breeding stock of those sheep so that we can increase the number and increase our own production of wool throughout the land.
The sheep will be here.
Excellent. Excellent. Good. I think we have an accord here. I'm very pleased. And does has some sweet rosewater tea brought to kind of signal that everything is fine and everybody's cool, and presents some gifts to you, just to kind of put you a little in the debt, and your other people are a little spooked as you head out. Let's come to Tyler.
I think that the House will, as the proceedings began for court, would have spoken expansively about the wisdom of the Arbiter, the way that we do need a name for our country, don't we? We really, we keep saying that, but yet to have one.
All right. Let's see. Um, give me a second, and I've
No
got
problem. And so we'll talk about how the Arbiter and their many lieutenants are there protecting and watching over, as you know, as the spirits watch the land, the Arbiter watches the people, sort of thing. So I will have advantage for my
Absolutely.
rolling.
Now, let me ask you a question. What does it look like when you present the head and the sword? Is that going on in this?
I think if we want to kind of tie it all together, I think that they're giving this grand invocation, this blessing of the spirits, is the house circle, not with the Dushka. And kind of as they finish, and hopefully, the Arbiter's smiling benevolently from hearing these compliments, I think that's when Dadushka is probably going to come in with a dripping bag and the sword kind of just trailing along behind him, to basically, he's going to come up and I give a mean look to his fellows of the teachers. Despite some foolishness, I've returned with this poor man's head, and I'll sort of toss it down in front of the dais, not like disrespectfully, but more in disgust. And much more reverently and with, a great deal more pomp, kind of pull the sword out. And I've returned the hero's blade.
You are honorable in doing this and taking this task on for your family. You are Dadushka, am I correct?
That is right.
I've not heard your name on the lips of your comrades for some time.
I've been traveling. Better to hear the land when there are not so many babbling people, as I look over towards the circle of elders.
Well, you have done a great favor for us. Tyler, let's see his total reaction. Let's have you roll with advantage.
With advantage at +1. Ugh. That's a 9.
That is a 9. And the Arbiter will turn to your family and will say, you have done much for us in undertaking this task and carrying this out. And I appreciate that. I wish you to figure out why Osvaldo did this. That seems a small thing to ask, a compliment, a step upon the task that you've already so well completed.
And they will, of course, great lord, yes, of course. And Dadushka will kind of move up and he'll drop the bomb that none of the rest of the house knows, but he'll go ahead and tell the Arbiter, I fear that, at least in part, it is the Feylords. They stir in their sleep.
The Feylords. I will need more than children's stories for the answer to this.
I see, great lord. Well, I hope to bring you then the wisdom of the children in good time.
Now, you did do you were given a task last time because you
Mhm.
rolled a 7 and 9 last time, and you did fulfill that.
Yay.
So you do get a favor for having fulfilled that.
All right.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That means your favor goes up from +1 to +2.
Oh, good. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. All righty. Wow. That's good.
I think that also for the 10 plus that you got, Josh, essentially that's a surplus that he wants you to utilize towards this project. So I don't think that has been succeeded on or failed yet, either
Okay.
way. But when you do that, that's a way to get favor and to move the project forward additionally. So
Okay.
let's come to Jesse, to Valdemar. I believe that you were kind of on the outs, right?
I was, and nothing I did really seemed to. I was trying desperately to accomplish what I perceived to be the Arbiter's goals in Sneadosh, and with no success. I've set myself up a nice little base of operations there, but the Arbiter already had that. So I'm sort of all I've got is participation in the success of Dedushka's endeavor, and I deal
Something
with
you
the
were kind of
Fae.
keeping yourself a bit quiet about, right? You were
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. I think I was kind of trying to, like, if I hadn't been there, it would have been even worse. Let me tell you. Like, we're the only reason they got that head and sword to begin with. That's like the rumor I'm spreading.
I tell you what, I will give you advantage on this roll. You're still rolling at your -1 of favor. But I'll
Okay.
give you advantage on this roll.
Can you just remind me, because I wrote the results, but for whatever reason I did not write down the what I was trying to achieve in them, of that last
With the Fae?
yeah, the roll, those to the wind roll.
Yes, the Fae is going to tell you, it's going to come to you and tell you how you're going to gain recruits.
There we go. Thank you. That was I knew they were going to come to tell me something, and that's why it says in my notes, the Fae will tell you. I'm like, what will they tell me? I didn't write down the thing I asked for. Anyways, thank you. Okay. So yeah, so I will make that -1 roll at advantage. Thank you. If I can find which tab the dice roller is in.
So many tabs.
Yeah, that's an 8.
That is an 8.
A 5 and 2 3s.
The Arbiter comes and says,
sorry, a 7, but it's still okay.
Still okay. You're still good. The Arbiter brings your family in. There's some general discussions, talking, and the Arbiter says, as I understand it, you have been taking a more active role in at the Forge of the Earth. The family has, and there's some discussion about that because, of course, there are people in your family,
excuse me,
who don't want to give you credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so on. And your sister's focus is elsewhere. She has other plans, and she's like, "What? We're making progress on this great hydraulic water drill. It's going to be so amazing." And he's like, "Yes. Who is the man who oversees this then? Who oversees
the Forge?
At the Forge? Who is among your people?"
Yeah, we'll say his name is Oren, Oren. He's a SEP. Let's say he's a SEP, SEPP. Let's get one of them in play.
Okay. and he's someone. I mean, you don't actually have the forge isn't working yet, but he has Orin come forward and kind of give him a break, overview. It would be to the benefit of our nation if progress could be made to reopen, and I'm not saying to rebuild at the level that it was before, but to reopen the forge, to reopen the mines there, to begin to draw forth from the earth and perhaps produce the old crafts that were so well regarded. Does that seem like something that could be done? And at that point, he turns and, he's clearly been, Waldemar, he's clearly been pointed. He kind of turns to you. Waldemar, is it?
Yes. What's the title? Falcon?
That's, well, the Arbiter is the Arbiter, but the Falcon is the one that's next to him.
But the Arbiter is the one who's speaking?
Yes.
Yes, Arbiter.
If you think, I would like you to look to that. I think this could be a great opportunity for our country.
Nothing would bring me and my family more joy than to take the first steps in restoring our arts to their former glory. I think we can make it happen.
Then we have an understanding. I look forward to hearing of your progress on this.
Of course.
And then we come to our other family with a -1. The church. And of course, you're at the background, but we've got the church leaders there. Do we decide there's a council, or there's a leader person, or how is that?
Yeah, I would say I forget what it's called, but it's basically like two leaders.
Okay.
So with the Lords Temporal and Lords Spiritual, they're both like equal, but like, divided between their duties.
Yes. Well, let's see you roll. And actually, before you roll, were you put a task? Was a task put to you last time?
Yeah, they wanted us to get the rare materials, the potentially like fairy blast.
Did you do that?
We sure did not. It was too spicy down there.
It was too spicy. Let's see then. Then that means by the end of the season, again favor, otherwise lose one favor.
So it's a -2. Well, I got an 8.
Look at you. I have nothing but the greatest respect for the church. I understand how important it is. The church is to the new land, it being a late coming faith, but taken up by so many and important to some portions of our country.
Just incredibly important, Arbiter. And I'm sure you've heard the reports, but things in Snudosh are moving slowly on purpose. This is not something any of the houses can rush through.
So it is not your fault.
Well, we have nothing to be at fault of yet. We're still working and supporting your goals to expand. We're just making sure we can put the best face of the Arbiter first.
I will give you a second bite at the apple, as it were. Those resources are important to what we have set to do. so we will consider what happened before. Water off a duck's back. Gone. Nothing to worry about. And I put that same task to you again. Everyone is pulling their weight in this.
As you command, Arbiter.
As I request for the good of the nation.
And has the church never done anything but has the church never been anything but for the good of the nation? We'll support you.
And you're dismissed. Does that seem like a fair reading of that situation?
Yeah, that's good.
Should we continue? Should we go to character level? Should we move back out to family level? Does anybody want to call a scene here? I don't know if we've established at least that 3 of the 4 of you are there. I don't know if, in fact, I kind of doubt that Treste would have made the hike back here for that.
No, for sure it's not there.
Okay.
I would like to have a scene, I think right after the scene with the Arbiter.
Okay.
With Orin.
Okay. Oh, Waldemar, why did you say such a thing? Why did you agree to that so quickly?
Look, I know it's not going to be easy.
Not going to be easy. The water runs through the forge.
Yeah, but like the heat of the earth, like it's hot water.
You're going to have to convince your sister to send us more men. We cannot do it with the people that we have now.
I have a way to get more men. Don't worry about that. What I have 2 concerns. Number 1.
Oh, you have only 2 concerns because I have many more than that.
Aside from the obvious practical concerns, which between us, I'm sure we can resolve, I have 2, let's call them political concerns.
Okay.
Number 1, your last name is Sepp. And mine is and so is my sister's. But I see the look on your face. Let me finish. I'm not accusing you of a thing. Okay? I want to make sure that everything is open and on the table. You know I don't like to deal in intrigues.
Go on.
Obviously, there's a long history of rivalry between our families for the role that my sister currently holds. But this, I know you're down here. You're down in Sneados. You're down at the not in Sneados. You're down by the forge because you care about the work, because you want to advance our family as a whole, and you know that this will bring glory not just to you, although it certainly will bring glory to you and your immediate family, but it will bring glory to all of us, right?
Okay. I'm listening.
This is good for everybody. We can fight over who gets to sit at the top of the heap once there's a heap tall enough to sit on top of.
Let's have you roll cunning.
Sure.
This is find common ground.
Yeah. Do I want to use... Hold on, I have that move. No, I haven't done any of those things. I don't want to do any of those things right now, so I'm just gonna stick with the basic cunning roll. And that is a 10.
He says, listen, yes, my name is Sep, but I don't know if you ever heard the phrase to be liched. To be liched is when you are sent to the ass end of our lands, to Licelli, where the forge doesn't work. And that's where I was sent by my family. So I have no love for the Sep. I have love for me. And if you're going to help with this project, if you're going to push this forward, that can only benefit me if it works. So I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, I clap him on the back and I'm like, when this is done, you'll be able to flash them a giant middle finger. And if you want to come home king of the Seps, well, you'd have the support of this arm.
All right. We have an understanding. Ekaterina, anything you want to do character-wise before we move up family level?
I don't think in the castle now.
Okay. What about for Dudushka before we move forward?
I would, if Darren's up for it, like to know of someone in the church that Dadushka would find that's sort of a lore keeper, a librarian type.
That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Maybe I like a librarian since we got all that literature. Let me do a good French name real quick.
Leclerc, you say? Oh, you did.
French. This is like French is too close to English. The names don't sound
Romances.
different enough. I don't know. This is like librarian. What does it say? Edward?
All right.
Keep it real simple. Edward, the librarian.
Excuse me. I realize that there have been difficulties between my family and yours, but in the service of the Arbiter and of our country, perhaps we could help each other. Tell me. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Tell me, does your church have words about the fairy?
Interesting. While I'm not really at liberty to discuss the vast resources and the wide collection of knowledge that the church has with such a lay person as yourself, no offense, of course, to the teachers. But I suppose I can tell you that I can't recall off the top of my head whether we have any little stories. Aside, of course, from what we collected when we were first brought here, the little children's tales that people told in the villages.
I see. Am I to take it then that you, the position of the church is not to believe in these things?
Oh, well, so delicate these days what to believe in. As I'm sure you recall, a lot of our work early on was about disposing of these stories. So the church doesn't like to say these things are incorrect, but they're not a part of our tradition.
I overheard that the Arbiter wishes the church to be involved in this acquisition to the south. I should warn you, believe in them or not, the Fae stir. I believe that it was the influence of your church long ago that had something to do with their binding. I would ask, perhaps you could look into this, if not for my illumination or the illumination of the nation, at least for the illumination of your own house. It will be dangerous, and I don't wish to see more bloodshed. I've seen enough over my many years.
Like Hagward like makes the sign that the church does for their faith, and he says, "No, we've all seen too much bloodshed. I believe, these years ahead of us are bright, good, golden years." I appreciate the warning. We'll see what we can do, and however we can help defend the nation. I'm sure we'll rise to the occasion, as we always have.
Sure you will. If you feel the need or even the charity to share with me if you discover something, I would appreciate it. And I will tell you something perhaps your comrades should know. The Fae cannot stand the purity of the land itself. Things that are crafted, those fascinate them. But the old weapons, the old things, that will hold them back. Pig iron, flint, that they fear.
Dadushka, are you will you be finding your way back to Sneadosh?
I fear that I must, but I have a task to do before then.
Well, if we find anything, I'm sure one of our missionaries can seek you out down there. I heard a group of them will soon be dispatched. You'll have friends, as much as we can be friends, I suppose.
May the land watch over you.
And may the sky watch over you.
And we'll part. Does Lowell, would that happen to count as me teaching others a new way of gaining strength from the land?
What do you think, Darren?
Yeah, I think that last tip about like the old world materials. I think so, definitely, because I don't think the church would have thought about that. Like, basically, they're unconcerned about anything to do with like the land. So, yeah, I'm into it.
Okay,
Cool. Thank you.
let's go with that. Looks like Jesse dropped. So let's take 5, and when we come back up, we'll go to the family level and we'll start with Josh, and do it that way. Does that seem okay?
Cool.
Okay.
Hello, people there?
Boy, this game is fun.
There's a lot of neat stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. And our map sure is pretty.
Yeah, I love a good map.
It's lovely.
I'm here. I am waiting for a tea kettle to yell at me, so at some
Okay.
point I'll step away for a second.
Sure.
But I'm here.
I also want to say, Josh, thank you for being kind when I was over the top there, yelled at you. I'm so sorry. If I do that and you're bothered by it at a point, anyone, I get too excited, just tell me to dial it back, or I will apologize. So it's probably a little too much there.
No, it's totally all right.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Where we take up is then with the horse lords after this meeting. We got a little rap on the wrist, but the signal seemed to come from the Arbiter that the lands and things that you're taking are yours, and they seem the Arbiter seems to have acknowledged that. So what is it that you want to do?
Well, I think that the first step Ekaterina wants to take is to rectify the sort of the mistake she's made by not investing the coin surplus. So she's gonna go back to Sneadosh, back to that area, and I think back to the city that we were in before we forded the river.
Right?
Which I do not recall the name of. The what was there?
That's Licelli, the one at the
Licelli.
where
So I think
where Waldemar has his.
Katerina is going to head back to Licelli.
Okay.
And try and organize a meeting with the House Licelli in order to invest that coin in sort of outreach into Sneadosh.
So you'd like to sort of like through an intermediary, you'd like to change that coin into one of the surpluses that there's needed, scouts, transport, raw materials, weaponry, recruits, or spies.
Yeah.
So
sounds correct.
What do you want?
Just a fictional question here as you're doing this. So are you doing this like openly, or are you doing this because Valdemar currently holds kind of holds that city personally for his family?
Yeah.
So I mean, you could do business there, but the question is, are you sort of like trying to keep it a secret, or are you just doing it,
So the agreement that Valdemar has with the House Licelli is what exactly? Like what?
Basically,
get?
the Contessa, who's the head of House Licelli.
Yeah.
Lowell, feel free to jump in if I'm misremembering or misstating things. But my memory of it was basically that I sort of sold her on, she's the strong right arm. She can do what she does best in terms of taking care of military defenses, etc. And that I'll handle the politics of the city and the sort of management administration.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it sounds like I do actually want to be going to the Contessa. Because if the surpluses are in scouts and that sort of.
Let me start with this question. What is your family's mood right now?
My family's mood is 3.
It's 3. So you're at +3.
We are
you're almost pleased. Close to flush with resources.
Indeed.
So that's good. So the reason I'm asking is when you go to transport the surplus, if your mood was below 0, there would be some question about how it gets transported there. But given that your family is intact, that everything is cool, you're able to essentially transport that wealth to Licelli.
All right. And then I suppose that the action I'm taking is well, I mean, I guess ultimately what I'm trying to do is contribute to the project, right?
Sure. I think this is kind of read the wind to get a sense of what Licelli itself might have that this coin could be traded for.
Okay.
Does that seem fair?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So let's have you roll with reach.
All right. Roll for your brownie. That is an 8.
That is an 8. So you're going to get to ask one of those questions. And then
right.
An ally you had to consult with, which in this case, I think it was going to be Waldemar, is going to get to mark a map with the sign of the answer that you get. So what is the question you want? Is essentially what surplus would you like to trade this coin for?
I would like to trade this coin for, let me see what the surplus options are. They are scouts, transport, raw material, weaponry, recruiter, spies. I think raw material makes the most sense. You know, if I have money, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to use it to purchase raw material for these people to use in the military industrial complex.
And yeah, I think that if you go to her, because while Waldemar is running the political side of things, she has the loyalty and authority over the military here and things like that. And she says, I can, for this coin for our city, I can put these men to work harvesting the lumber nearby and drawing the mining goods that are close to the surface, things like that. We're not deep miners here, but we can provide you with that.
Good. Yes. As soon as you can, I would like you to bring it to the. I would like you to bring it to the expeditionary force going into Sneadosh. It is there. It will be theirs to use.
Has that encampment been established?
Well, I think that is sort of what Waldemar is to some extent doing.
Yeah. So essentially, well, if that is what you wish, we will stockpile the resources here in Licelli for that purpose.
Yeah, for Waldemar to just have resources for his expansion.
Yeah. So you've changed over that coin. You have now surplus raw materials. It is in a specific place. It is in Licelli.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Contessa seems pleased with this. Waldemar, I think it makes sense for us to come to you.
Yeah.
After this has sort of been started to grind away, but suddenly Licelli is flush with cash.
How does that work mechanically? Like, do I now have access to that surplus?
You don't have access to that surplus yet, but it's an opportunity now.
Got it.
And actually, two different surpluses are within your grasp.
Right.
Opportunity-wise, one would be kind of a violation of things, but that's how it is.
Right. Well, he did say it was for my use. She did say it was for my use.
But the coin you can certainly maneuver to get a hold of pretty easily.
So I'm probably going to start with that, but
Uh-huh.
I want to just ask some big picture questions so I can sort of understand what I can do to achieve my goal also, like as a house,
Uh-huh.
right? So what Oren Step kind of implied was that I need people, I need recruits to get the Forge of the Earth going.
You need recruits because you're to take care of your need right now, and then you need more recruits to have that surplus, or skilled recruits to have that surplus to be able to apply them.
Right. The other, so I need to deal with that, and then number two is I was thinking, I have this wonderful tradition, the Bones of the Earth, which allows me to enact this ritual to draw on the stability and resolve of the earth, reinforce the structure with ramparts of rock, crack open the rock to release a gout of water, a vein of valuable minerals, or here's my favorite part, the earth's scorching red blood, which I think might power a forge.
That does seem like a thing.
So
which do you want to start with? Do we want to do
so many choices? So I think I want to try and clear the recruit need first.
Okay.
Which presumably involve a conversation with the Fae.
You will have a dream. And in the dream, that figure comes to you again, and he says, there is an old oak outside of the city. If you go there, and you will find buried a bundle. And in that bundle are seeds. You need to go away from the city, and without the sight of anyone but yourself, you need to plant those seeds. If you do this, they will come.
And in return, I will owe you a favor, correct?
Yes, you said yes. A future service.
So I do it. I follow those instructions to the letter. I sneak out before the crack of dawn.
Absolutely. Let's have, since we all have to kind of see if this goes. No, I think this is fine. I think we don't even need to make you roll. I think you will go out and you will find a place. What kind of spot do you find to plant this after you dig these things up?
Pretty desolate. I think it's like off in the direction towards where the horselords were sort of trying to like where they gathered their new people.
Yeah, so but not across the river, right? You're still
no towards the river though.
Towards the river. Okay. We'll go down, find a stand of trees, find a space there that's relatively hidden away, and you will plant these seeds. They almost look like pomegranate seeds. They're that kind of deep red, and you will plant those. And then you will walk away. And at the dawn of the seventh day, one of the people of your household will come to you as you're getting up and says, Lord Waldemar?
Yes.
There are some people who have come down out of the hills. Old mountain tribesmen that have kept to themselves, have stayed in the high peaks. They say they have come down here to pledge service to the Chali.
And by all means, I will accept their service.
And he says, you should probably, like, he's clearly like, he's like, you need to talk to these guys.
I go out to greet them, absolutely.
And you will go out, and when you get to the gates, because they're not letting these people in. They're about 100, 120. They're taller than anybody here. They kind of don't look right. Their skin is a little more ashen. Their clothing is certainly more primitive, and it is decorated with antlers and horns. And they clearly haven't interacted with civilization for some time, and it takes a bit before some translation of very old tongue, but essentially the translator will come to you and will say, "This one is the leader, and he says that he has come to honor the pact."
I smile and I open my arms wide and I say, "Welcome to the service of Licelli under the forgers of the Marble City. We will meet your needs in exchange for your service."
And this person will grumble and will say, "We hear and we obey the pact maker." And we'll cut away from that scene there. Let's come to Dadushka next, and then let's come to Trest. Dadushka, what are you up to? Or what is your family up to? What do we want to do? What level do we want to be working on?
Well,
do we want to continue with Dadushka's attempts to find some things out?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, because I do have a house that we're going to at least have to attempt to fulfill one of our needs somehow along the way.
Yeah.
But Dadushka is personally going to be making his way up from court and heading towards
the River of Peace.
Yeah, and Mount Nadizhda. I'm figuring that the court is somewhere in the center of our country, and so heading north to get to the mountain and try, since it rose up unexpectedly out when we cast out these people. That's probably where I'm planning to pour the water into the river, is there.
Absolutely.
But I'd like to, as I'm doing it, probably with some minstrel with me. I generally have one around me somewhere along the way most of the time. But we're going to be asking and inquiring amongst various folks, just hearing old folk tales. I'm trying to build up as much knowledge from the people of things I might not have heard of. So it's kind of, I'm guessing, like a read the wind, maybe, to try and get some...
Sort of the family level of that. That seems fine, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I will roll. I am rolling with your
family's reach.
So I have a +1 on reach.
Let's look at that.
That's not bad. And I rolled... Ooh, well, I got an 8.
Got an 8. So what is the question?
I think that, I'm trying to get rumors of what is happening in, what's it, Scaradouche?
In
Scaradouche. Down south.
What's happening in Sneadosh?
Sneadosh. I'm trying to, and with that in particular, I'm trying to equate it with like the Fae supernatural aspect. See if any of these folk tales ring true with stuff that's happening down there.
I think one of the things that's a challenge here is, of course, as you move northwards, we get further into the grip of Ostrova and of the church, and people are less inclined to talk or give credence to those folk tales. But as they understand it, what they've heard, of course, some of the things you already know. They talk about the fact that trade is now going on, that the Sneadosh people seem to, the merchants seem to be actually buying some things from Licelli and stuff. There's some change in the trade dynamic there that has happened, but also there was this bloody massacre that occurred down there. Those are things that are kind of in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that you will hear is that some months ago, people said that they saw Father Bolg, an old figure, Father Bolg, who walks behind the trees. And that Father Bolg had gone from place to place. And it said that he whispered things to people to warn them of what was coming. And that he told people. And that he was seen at the doorstep of Warden Osvaldo's house a few weeks before Osvaldo left. No one is certain why, but that was when Osvaldo took the blade and went to Sneadosh. Father Bolg, it's hard to call to him. It is risky and dangerous. He wants things that he wants. The reason he's still around is that his brothers amongst the gods do not like him. And while the others have gone and faded away and drunk of the stars deeply, he is chained to the ground. But he has no love for the Fae. And certainly the whispers they have heard is that there will come a danger from Sneadosh.
I will thank whoever these snippets begin coming in.
Yeah, and again, there's that thing where every time people are telling you this, they're kind of stopping and looking to it's not that they're afraid of the priests, it's just that they don't like to say these things in front of them.
Give them credence, that sort of thing.
Right. You know how it is.
In my own knowledge, is this Father Bulge, is he old spirit god, or is that the idea?
He's like a children of that pantheon that has gone away, like the sort of next demigod hero, maybe personification's not entirely clear, a kind of a warrior, even trickster spirit.
Gotcha, but I would be aware of who he is.
Yeah. They say, what is the other like sign for Father Bolg besides moving behind the trees, besides being this ratted hermit figure? What is the other sign for him?
The other sign for him is that leaves in the trees will begin moving even when there's no breeze.
They shake and they shudder and they shiver when he comes near. And you will arrive at the mountain, though. When we come back to you, we'll see about you, Dedushka, climbing the mountain with this water.
All righty.
Okay. Trieste, do we want to go with you? Do we want to go with your family? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I got a lot of house stuff to do. Agenda's long.
Oh yeah, spicy.
First, I need to invoke. Oh, sorry. Oh, it turned off my video.
Okay, fair enough.
I was just muting myself. I had a huge coughing to do. I need to invoke my move where it travels fast, because once per season I can send a mission of my clergy to any settlements, and I desperately need them in well, I guess Licheli, right? That's like the closest settlement we have to like this Neodos region.
There are two places. One is the horse clan sort of, I mean, it's across the river, but it's just right to the north of Sneados at Pozlednaya, Gaia. There we go. That place, Pozl, or at Licheli. It's said that they will eventually need to probably set up some kind of trade post right on the border, but that really hasn't been built yet.
All right, well, Licheli it is.
Okay.
I'm sending a delegation of my clergy. This is important because as long as the rulers of the settlement take no action to expunge my teachings, my slight rolls involving the settlement have advantage.
Okay.
And there's no reason I would want to take any efforts to expunge your teachings, right?
Well, hopefully neither you nor the Arbiter would. Contessa. The second thing I need to do leading off of that, no, first, a Lord Temporal is going to arrive at the city of the Forgers. What's the name of the city called again? Oh, I can't read any of these.
We may have misjudged in the some of the name choices. I'm not sure what you're referring to, because we don't have a particular city. We're kind of scattered.
Oh,
but you don't mean the place with the Forge of the Earth, do you?
That's what I was thinking.
That is Licheli. Yeah.
Oh, Licheli has the Forge.
Yeah.
So confused. Well, okay. Anyway, some leaders from my house are going to go to wherever like the current seat of the Forgers are at, like whatever town or city or wherever they're at.
And there's two places. Let me kind of go through this. You could go and find Valdemar's sister, in the minings and working towns that they're scattered in. But the most sort of settled place now where industry is kind of going on is Licheli. It's not technically the capital of his faction, it is his center point.
His sister is like the de facto leader, right?
Absolutely,
right
yes.
Now? Yeah. Okay, so we'll go see the sister.
Okay. So what kind of place, Waldemar, is your sister at? We described her being a workshop, a mining kind of place. So
yeah, so I think that she's not like, so I said we're kind of scattered around in different like little villages and towns all over. I think at the moment she's probably hanging out, right? We said Uchagunya is like the big city, right? That's sort of for the capital. So I think where she is like kind of in a village on the north western corner of the mountain range there, nearest to Ochagognia, because she's trying to like she's got this new style of sculpture that she's working on, and she's trying to like promote it and push it and impress the Arbiter in the big capital, like to capital city there, but she's hanging out in the village to sort of get it all together.
That seems cool.
Love that. What's your sister's name again?
Tatiana.
All right, so this huge delegation arrives in this small village to speak with Tatiana, and this is a Lord Spiritual who this is remarkable because they don't deal with people that much or do any sort of diplomatic business, but this is a spiritual matter. So you get a Lord Spiritual with a full procession of like the local church, a bunch of like monks, acolytes, the whole deal, all it's probably greatly interrupting whatever's going on in this village. But this Lord Spiritual, who we'll name Alma, we'll just go with Alma.
Okay.
Lord Alma is going to come to Tatiana and say, like,
Can I set the
Lead
scene
it.
a little bit? If you don't.
oh yeah,
Right. So I think what happens is, so this huge retinue, right, comes through this village, and there is like a big sort of manor house in the village, right, with like a receiving room and a like a place where the lady of the family can like receive guests of this stature, right? And they just kind of walk, the servants just kind of like walk you right past there, right, through the manor house, out the back, to like a little, not a little, like almost like an outdoor workspace with like a bunch of tables set up and a shelter and this gigantic like solid white hunk of stone, and Tatiana is there, kind of like pretty dirty, wearing a smock and work clothes, tool belt. Looks up angrily and is like, "Yes."
Tatiana, your rumors of your charm precedes you. There's
a reason I let my brother handle most of these conversations. What do you want?
Well, as you know, the forgers, your house, have fallen out of favor of the church, and we hate to see our people drift so far from us and from the Arbiter and from the nation. But luckily, we have been granted a site, a way to welcome you back into the fold.
Is it one that comes with a new appreciation for beauty?
Oh, of course. We have noticed, and gestures towards this like sculpturing, the work that your house has contributed to the forgers in this land, even though the Arbiter may slight you, and by promoting House Garana, I think is their name. We would love for your handicraft to be the new foundation of our church. And what I'm insinuating here is I'm going to pull my influence to take your marble surplus.
How does that work? Like just mechanically?
Yeah. So let's go to that. So that's a house move, and that is call in a debt. When you call on a house you have influence over, lose your influence and choose one, gain advantage, take a surplus from them, get them to back you up. If a player house refuses your request, they must hold together with disadvantage on their roll if their favor is below yours. So their favor is not below yours, so they won't roll with disadvantage if you decide to hold together.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna refuse that request.
Now wait, Tatiana, before you act so rashly, remember we can clear your name in the country. Wouldn't it be nice to support the mission of the church, display your beautiful wares, and also be welcomed back into the flock?
I have a better way to support the mission of the church. Tell you what I'll do for you. This lovely, lovely, lovely slab of marble can become a statue of your most, and I can't keep track of all of them, but your most adored god, made by my own hands with these finest materials. That I can do for you. But we need our marble to build our work.
What could be a greater life's work? What could be remembered across the ages than founding new churches across the land?
What could be a greater honor for your churches than to have one of my great new sculptures of the new school, never seen before in this land? You would have the first, and it would be of, that one, the big one.
So let's pause here so we can read the mechanics on this.
Yeah.
So mechanically, Jesse's kind of presenting a counter offer,
Yeah.
which is off of his doctrine, which would be giving you surplus morale or surplus luxury, but also getting influence.
I was actually offering for my influence move.
Oh.
Which is when you work with another house to build or repair an item important to their culture, gain influence on them.
Yeah, but
I was trying to completely invert the thing. I wasn't actually trying to give him anything he really wants, just to be clear there, which is maybe not fair.
So sure. So not doctrine. So they're not offering you anything.
Correct.
So
wow.
So I assume that the church is going to decline.
We'll decline that, but are you like done, Jesse, as Tatiana? Are you done negotiating? Because I would up it for the doctrine move.
Hold on, let me take a look at the doctrine move. After. Oh yeah, no, I'll totally do that. I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's once per age.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take that. Then I'll back down from the.
Thank you all for pointing that out. Yeah.
So, Darren, you don't spend your influence because there was no resolve of that.
Right.
Jesse, you do get influence over the church, and the church will gain either surplus morale or a surplus luxury. Which does the church need?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, we don't have a need in either of them, luckily, but I'm thinking just morale, since this is like one statue. It doesn't feel like a morass of luxury.
Okay, that seems.
It's the newest of the new. They're going to be all the rage throughout the land soon. I assure you. Avant-garde. You know it's fancy because it's French, not Russian, Lithuanian, or Estonian.
Right.
All right. Little move. Might pull one more house move.
Sure.
This will be quick because basically the forgers aren't completely off the hook with that. They're just settling part of a debt. So I just want to know what they're up to, specifically in Licelli. I would like to get the dirt. I want to pull in my missionaries and see like what's going on. Why isn't Tatiana down there? What's happening? As a player, no, but I want my house to know.
So, just a few weeks ago, the wild men of the mountains, old blood folk, they used to fight, and then with us, and old legends about them, just scary. They were up in the mountains. No one's seen them for years and years and years. And they came down out of the mountains, a tribe of them, and pledged their fealty to the one known as Valdemar. And since then, he has fed them, clothed them, and put them to work. And they have stayed on their own and have avoided the others, but they have labored. No right-minded person would want to interact with them. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay. Then I'm going to come to the horselords. Josh, you successfully exchanged that coin, got the raw materials set up. Do you want to carry that to kind of like a base camp area and say that you are delivering it?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that works for me. Yeah.
What kind of place has been set up? If there has to be like a midpoint or a trade post that sort of stands between Licelli and interior Sneadosh, sort of along that border there, is it a
Yeah.
military encampment? Is it a caravanserai? What kind of place is it, do you suppose?
I think it is uh I think it's more of a trading step, more of like a trade station
Mm-hmm.
uh for caravans coming in and out of Sneadosh to stop at and just like, rest their horses and get a drink or something.
Okay. And so you will carry and deliver those goods, move them there.
Yeah.
And let's see here. When you actually deliver an arbiter, one of the surpluses they need for their project, we give the project 1 progress. So let me find where that is on. That's on the saga, right? No.
It is on the house sheet.
House sheet. There we go. All right, so 1 progress on the expansion there. And you will also gain 1 favor.
Hmm.
So tell me, what are you up to? That's sort of incidental to what your family is engaged with. What else are they doing? Dealing with their needs, working on fulfilling the Arbiter's mission? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they are working on their needs. I think the step right now is training up soldiers.
Ooh. So that's the need you're answering is
Soldiers.
soldiers. So so the way that mechanically this works in the game is did you already like do a thing to kind of find out where you need to do or the steps you need to do to get that need answered? I can't remember if we did a move for that yet or not.
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. Yeah. So we essentially the house deliberates and we kind of do a read the wind is probably the easiest way because we don't have an obvious opportunity on the map that's already marked for that.
Yeah.
So we use read on the wind to kind of develop that for you.
Yeah. So read the wind. That is a no. That is a 3.
That is a 3. So I think you are looking to sending your people out. They're trying to find particular warriors and that kind of thing, people that might be useful as soldiers, and you venture down south to the southeast of the steppe, past Trudfo, into some not as great territory there. And your people will hit against what are very clearly outriders. One of the things is down to the south, there are some old passes that lead to some desert kingdoms that have traditionally been have kept to themselves, or the passage has been difficult, but your family will run into some of these outriders in striking different armor. They bear badges that look a little bit like the church's badge, the signs and symbols of that, but different. Like clearly, this is not the same faith that they follow. And there are probably a set of skirmishes that occur there, forcing you to fall back. And you will realize that there's this encroachment going on in the south. What do you want to call these people?
That is a great question. I am going to call these people Al-Sharika.
They follow a variant of that kind of almost animist and sort of celestial faith that comes in. What is the name of that faith of Ostrova? Is it just the church, or what do we
Kozyan.
spell that for me?
Khozyain. I'll put in the chat too.
So yeah, they are clearly up there, and you're not sure how long they've been operating there, how much forces they've brought to bear, but it is not good, and that will generate a doom on the project. Essentially, is now a potential threat that could draw away resources and things like that. What is Ekaterina's reaction to this? Is she involved in any of these skirmishes? Does she just hear about them? What do you think? Is she off to the further
Yeah, I think
west?
she's probably still out west when these skirmishes happen.
Which of your relatives is killed in one of these skirmishes?
I think I have a cousin who's killed. My first cousin is killed.
Younger than you, excited, glad to be given this.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was my younger cousin. I think he looked up to me too.
Yeah.
You know, and he liked me being a ranger, and he wanted to join up and explore the steppe.
And essentially, you will a hawk comes. It lands in the trees. One of the monkeys climbs up the tree and takes a little letter off of its thing, and then rushes down and brings it to you. And you'll get word from your homeland. Very very scattershot, but basically that there's a new threat, and that your cousin has died, has been killed. Does that seem like a fair heart move there? Okay.
Yeah.
Dudushka. That's a big mountain.
It is indeed, and I imagine that it has a starkness since it sort of rose up here recently rather than being weathered down. It's probably quite sharp.
Absolutely. So I think that this is going to be you. This is disarm, I think, is the character move for this.
Right.
What do you think is going to be this bravery that you're rolling, which is actually pretty decent for you?
Yeah, I'm pretty brave.
Yeah. So we see, get the long Lord of the Rings shot of you moving up the mountain. The camera sweeps by. We see you in silhouette, all that. Let's have you roll.
All right. Oops. Yep, there I am. That's an 8.
That is an 8. It takes you a while. You need to make a choice here on the results on disarm.
I think it's only temporary safety, and the danger will return
Yeah,
soon.
I think you get climbing up there, but even as you're climbing up there, it's starting to rain, and it is wet, and it is muddy, and you will make it to the top, but you can tell going down is going to be an absolute beast. What do you do at the top?
I take out that ancient stone kind of urn that I had gotten this water, and I'm on the side looking across the dry riverbed, running ever on as far as I could see. Probably in the lightning we could see dancing across there. It seems very stark. And I am going to begin entreating the spirits to come around, calling to them, and I will take flesh wound to be able to communicate with them. And I will tell them, you asked that the waters return here. You ask, and I have done. I seek knowledge. A hero must arise, and I will take the urn and I will smash it down on the edge of the mountain there above the river and let the water that's inside of it begin mixing with the rain heading down.
Let's have you enact a ritual.
All right. I haven't gotten to do that before. That'll be lore. I don't know if I have anything special for that or not. Probably not. That is an 8.
That is an 8. Perform a ritual of the land. We say the thing you want it to do, which you want it to bring back this river.
Right. And I suppose that's a blessing.
That is a blessing you want. On a hit, it does roughly what you want. So that's the blessing, the 7 to 9. And then the GM is going to pick one Bane.
All right.
The skies effing open up. They open up like they have never before here. The water it is sleeting. You have to hang on for dear life as the storm rolls in and pours the water. And we'll see that. We see part of the mountain giving way, and we can see old springs covered over break forth to fill that trench, to fill that, and the combination of the rainwater and these old springs, but it floods this area. It washes out farms. It moves land. It is a wild, torrential thing, and you are like a wet cat at the end of it. Your clothing sticking to you. It never quite breaks during the time you're up there. At most, eventually, it gets down to just being a drizzle. And that flesh wound that you mark comes from this, I think. Yeah, the river is there again.
And I'm going to pick as my blessing, the magic is far more powerful than normal.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is high magic. While it has a natural explanation, we can see the old springs, we can see the old waters return, we can see the rainwater as part of it. It is a striking thing. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, and you give me a Bane. Was the Bane all the people dying?
Oh no, the Bane is actually the weather changes suddenly and dramatically.
Oh, okay.
I took that one because it fit so well. So
appropriate, yes. And I think as I sort of seep down with all the rain and the mud, I will thank the spirits as this river begins babbling its way to the north.
Absolutely. And I will make that. I've now changed that line into blue for the river that is going there now.
Since this is the fulfillment of my search, do you want to think on what the spirits tell me for finding the great hero, or do you have anything in mind?
The weapons possessed by the warlords and such, many of them are old. These new people, they see them as symbolic, or they see them for their power, but they are necessary to what is to come. Someone is going to have to convince them or gather some of those.
Thank you,
They
spirits.
will show you, and essentially they give you some sight so that when you see them, you will know if these is a necessary item.
Okay. And as a question, is the magical treasure of the teachers, the spear, one of them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that, but that's perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Let's take our second 5-minute break here. And then we'll come back and we'll start with Valdemar. Or Waldemar. How should I say that, Jesse? I keep
I've been
almost
saying
saying Voldemort.
I've been saying Voldemar.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the Voldemortum
Okay.
echo. I'm not gonna lie. He's clearly a little bit villainous.
Okay. Good. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I opted to not zoom in there just because I think it felt like a one character scene in some ways there. I prefer to zoom when we know we can kind of have a good ensemble working there. It is sort of, excuse me, I just burped into the mic. That was the worst. What kind of mic discipline is that? Jesus wept. In any case, what I was going to say is it is can be a challenge when you've got characters that are kind of a little more isolated or wandering to get those people together. So I do recognize that as a challenge there. These people work hard, Waldemar. They do the task that you set them to. They stay away from other people. They keep to themselves. They talk their language privately, and it's more than anything that creates the barrier. They don't do anything awful to anyone, but there's people scared of them.
Okay.
That sort of otherness that they represent.
Yeah, I don't think Voldemort gets that. I think Voldemort sees a valuable resource.
Absolutely.
Because Voldemar's kind of a piece of shit. In some ways.
Right.
Certainly about
utility.
the people who work for him.
Okay. So what's the next step in your plan? I will point out that the coin is a sort of free-floating resource, but the raw materials have been moved and put into the Arbiter's project by this point.
Right. So I have no interest in messing with the raw materials. I do kind of want to get my hands on those on that coin.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, it's just there, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
they're in the city that I control.
That you believe you control. Yes.
Well, yes, that I nominally control, we'll say.
Right.
So I think I'm just gonna
we've got a couple ways to do this, but given the character mechanics, if you want to look at the character mechanics.
I was looking at the house moves.
Let's look at the house moves. Do you want to use claim by force? And again, remember, that's not necessarily a physical force.
You know what? I want to take this in a completely different direction, actually.
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna leave that surplus alone for now.
Okay. It will occupy the Contessa. Her attention will be absolutely focused on the fact that now there is wealth here in the city that she didn't have before.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. I'm willing to let that slide if I need to. Because I think I'm going to go for a walk with Orin around the forge, and I think we are going to unearth forgotten lore.
Okay. So again, we have that whole thing where the waters come down off of the mountain. The forge is, the things have shifted, so a good deal of it has water going through it. So it's almost like you probably have to go through a couple of waterfalls, and maybe it's like the Bat Cave kind of thing.
I didn't realize that it had made it, because that's a lot of distance. That's like across another whole mountain range.
No, it's just up the mountain from where you are.
I'm confused about the geography. I thought the mountain with the mountain we were talking about. So there's
Lacelli, and then just up from it in the mountains is the Forge of the Earth.
Right, but then the rains and the river that was flooded with
Oh,
water was
that's
was
a different, that's
mountain, and a
entirely
different
different
river.
area. That's an entirely different area.
Right. So isn't that where Dadushka was doing his thing before?
Yeah, that's where. But Jaduska has traveled across. He traveled
Got it.
from.
Okay. I mean, so
Yeah,
this is not a new circumstance. This is just the way it is because of that. Got it.
yeah.
Misunderstood.
This
Yes.
river has always been alive and is flowing. And
100%. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's kind of drowned, right? It's soggy.
Yeah. Walk through there, then, and imagine a kind of cross between the Batcave as presented in the first Batman Nolan movie and Mordor.
Got it.
Like,
Now I'm
like
picturing
that.
kind of like the Penguin sewers in Batman Returns almost.
Because that's another good one. Yeah. And there's a thing where Orin is walking around. I mean, he's like, oh, oof, I could do this. And he's muttering the whole time. Let's have you roll that lore roll.
Because like this forge has always been by a river, right? Something made it work before.
Right.
Okay, that's doesn't matter what my lore is. That's still a fail.
That is still a fail. So I think as you are in here, there is that moment when you've kind of gone back into the deeps of this, when you hear this growl and you see this thing drop down off of the ceiling like a bear that was clinging to the ceiling, and it drops on Orin, and it is on top of him, and you hear the screaming. What do you do?
I mean, I pull my rune sword, and go after this drop bear.
Okay, let's have you a fiercely assault then. Get it off me!
Which I am not good at.
No.
And also I'm bad at dice. Just like straightforwardly very bad at dice. That's a 2.
A 2, you say?
A 3 minus 1 is a 2.
So I think your sword comes out, that's the point at which Orin's head rolls to your feet, and this thing turns, and it gets a good hit on you. Like, it raises that paw and it slashes down into you. And I think you're going to take 2 harm from that.
Yeah, and at that point, I do my best to grab Orin's head so I can at least bring something back to his family to bury.
Mm-hmm.
And I just try to get out of there if I can't.
Okay, so this is bravery to escape this thing.
Hold on, let me just mark the harm before I forget. Well, that's a 9.
That is a 9. So I think that you will choose one. Do you take a sacrifice? Does the thing follow you? Or does it go somewhere to harm other people?
Sorry, what are the 2 choices?
The 3 choices are on disarmor. Safety demands a sacrifice. The GM says what? It's only temporary and the danger will return. Or the danger is still present but threatening someone or something else.
Yeah, the danger will threaten somebody else.
Okay. I think you will get away from this thing, and you will get down in, and flesh wounds means you're able to rest. I mean, you got that rune blade up in the way and do that. But over the course of the next week, there will be people that go missing in town. And people say, God, it said they saw this shape. moved on the roofs. Does that seem fair?
Yes.
Let's come back to our church.
So much to do. Let's see. Well, let's zoom into Triste,
Okay,
actually. Let's take a break because I'm not sure what to do with the house right now.
sure. Where is Triste right now?
Triste wandering around Sneedos.
Is he in the woods hunting for those ruins?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe the turning of the seasons, he was probably in Lacelli trying to get ready or whatever, and however he could, getting whatever little information. So now I think it
Do you
makes
want to
sense.
zoom in on an expedition, or do you just want to do it with something just kind of narrate what goes on with your character?
Yeah, let's zoom in. Because I'm fine with it being like there could be multiple people. If somehow maybe I just convinced people. I drummed up some fervor or something. If
Okay.
anybody wants to grab a quick character. If not, I'm fine with it being like just say whatever.
And let's look on the sheet how we do the quick characters again here. They are where in the sheets, Darren?
Oh, quick characters are after the like main character. So after the factor, there's the quick character book, or I mean playbook, and
Oh,
then
okay.
to do it, you'll just grab one and fill it out. Yeah, it has the stat array, and then you'll yeah, and then so add your family bonus. It means it'll be the church, since you're all going to be family members of the church for the zoom in.
Oh yeah, they're down at the bottom. Okay, I see where it is. So this is a good chance because we haven't done this where we make up quick characters. So I'd like us to take the time to zoom into this. What you'll do is essentially give yourself a name and what the stat numbers are. Let me find the little thing on quick characters.
I think it has it. Oh, why did I close it? I think it's on that playbook. I thought I saw it. Yeah. So if you have the handouts, that playbook for quick characters, it'll be under stats. It's a +1, 0, 0, -1.
Yeah. So everybody go to the bottom of your column on the character keeper below your character, and you see there's a space for a quick character. You put in a name for your character, and assign stats, as Darren said, +1, 0, 0, and -1.
And what's the house stat of the church?
Hold on, let me look. There's oh, I thought it was muted for a second. There's a drop down at the very bottom, so you can choose the church from that, and it should fill in the inherited ability. But let me look too. I think it's lore or bravery for some reason.
Yeah, lore bravery.
Yeah.
And then the relationships are sibling, child, cousin, aunt, rival, protege, or peer. Essentially, you just decide a relationship to Trieste, whether it's family or friend or peer or what.
Yeah, and I guess this would be interesting, being the vagabond and being so distant from the church. So it would be interesting what family I picked up in Lacelli, or
okay.
or if we want to say you're like just some believer or something who's bought into the cause.
And you each will choose a role, just like we would have the role from other things. You can be a leader, in which case you can train people up with particular ability, essentially train a group of followers. It can be a champion. You choose a field that you're an expert in, and you can get fleeting advantage when you do that. If you're a rogue, you get a benefit when you break the law of your house or the Arbiter. And if you're an outsider, you have strange abilities. You can pick one of your stats. When you can mark a flesh wound and get advantage when you roll with it. You're muted, Tyler.
And where are those?
I don't have those in the sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Then would you go over them one more time for
Sure.
me? I'm sorry.
Leader allows you to train some people up to have additional followers. Champion gives you a particular field that you're really good in that you can get fleeting advantage on. Rogue means that when you break the law of your house, it's easier for you to get away with it. And outsider means that you get to choose a stat, mark a flesh wound, and get advantage on that stat.
I think I'll take champion.
So, Jesse, who is your character that is following along with the former noble, now wanderer of the church Treste?
So she is Lily. Feminine, trusting. Her feminine, trusting face, rebellious eyes, and a graceful body. Might 1, bravery 1, cunning 0, and lore -1. Her relationship to Triste is she sees herself as his protege. She's her role is a rogue, and she sees Triste as the true face of what the church should be, in his sort of vagabond ways. He's uncovering what is truly valuable, and she wants to learn everything from him that she can.
And then Josh, who is your character?
Yes. So I'm playing for this brief interlude Gojimir, who is Triste's uncle. He is a theologist, a dedicated scholar of the church. And he is, I think, very orthodox in his ways. He wears traditional religious costume, and he doesn't like it when people don't follow the tenets of Kozien.
So he's sort of rolling his eyes at his nephew.
Yes, I think he thinks his nephew could do better than this hermitry. He could be a good noble priest, and
So have you joined him in an attempt to try and maybe convince him to come back into the fold?
Yeah,
okay.
I think I'm here to keep an eye on him. I was probably in the area, or I was, nearby for some reason, and I knew that he was here, and I decided I needed to make sure he wasn't, too far astray.
And maybe you were then lead of in charge of the missionaries that were sent down to Lacelli.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I like that. Yeah. And then Tyler, who are you?
I'm going to be playing Svoboda, who is she's got a plain face, bulky body, close cropped hair, and steely eyes. And she is a warrior. I took the champion. And Darren, can you kind of what are we coming here to do?
We are looking for evidence that the like originators of the faith were like here before the empire was here, anything of that nature. So we're looking for some like history. We got a lead on some runes in the forest. There might be a black dog of the woods, but I don't worry about that.
Then I think that the relationship is kind of like she's there to guard the mission, but is sort of a rival in the sense that you've left and she doesn't understand why we're helping you. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
Maybe
well,
like a temple guard with Gojamir or something. I don't
yeah.
know if I'm saying that right, Josh. I apologize a lot.
So we take up, and our party has been in the woods for a couple of days now. You are in territory that is not your own. It is the lands technically of Sneadosh. It is in those sort of northern bordering woods, and it is deep and wild through here. And tell me, what is one thing that you have seen, Lily, here that is a sign of some weird, like, folk magic or folk practices out here in the woods?
I think it's the birds. Every now, I mean, there's tons of birds. It's like a very, very active bird habitat. But what's interesting is that every now and then you see, I'd say like once or twice a day in like a big flock of birds, you'll see a bird with something of value tied to its talon, tied to its really its ankle, I guess, if that's what that's called on a bird, like a little trinket or something that might have sentimental value or monetary worth, just like someone has affixed it to a bird as some kind of a gift or sacrifice.
A lure, perhaps, to draw the attention of the Fae
Could very well be.
away. And Gojamir, what is the weather like right now? Hot, cold, wet? What
It
is it?
is raining. It is this hard, like stinging rain, I think. And Gojamir is I think that right now we're sort of like trudging along, and Gojamir is on a mule in the rain, just scowling.
I like it. Svoda, what is the thing for the last 5 or 6 hours? What have you seen? What are the signs that tells you that something is following you?
I think that not so much see or hear is that feeling of something watching you, and in the kind of dim of like the tree shadows and the I pick out little pinpricks of eyes, but nothing I could put my finger on.
Right, and nothing necessarily at animal or human height, sort of odd.
I think it looks like a large animal.
And what for you, Triste, what is the sign that tells you that you're getting close to this place?
I think the canopies of the trees are growing in a strange way to like as if they were cut away or something. So as we get closer to it, you can tell that there's like it's like thinning out the canopy is, so you can get like a clear view of the sky.
Yeah, it almost looks like maybe something happened here, a fire or a blast or something. The trees that are around here aren't as full of foliage. They're younger trees, but not like a forest fire, something else. And you will make your way through. You've heard this thing moving behind you, and you can see in the distance, kind of through the clearing, this. It's weird because it's black, because that's not a color you normally associate with the church. But it's certainly like a structure in the distance that you can see, just make out between trees, that looks like church style, like small ceremonial shrine kind of thing, but it's done in black rather than the colors of the church or anything. And as you kind of see that, your eyes finally light on it, I think is when we will hear the scratching and the pawing, and we can tell that things have arrived and are in the rain. They're at the edge. It's getting dark, and they're kind of moving to ring you in.
Oh, go to me, Uncle. See, I told you nothing to worry about. It's exactly where exactly where I said it would be. Just completely oblivious to anything happening around him.
I don't think Gojamir can even hear him over like the wind and the rain.
What?
Yeah, he yells back. He's like, "What? What, boy?"
I think that's the point at which the mule gets really upset and is starting to buck and try to throw you off, Gojamir. Let's have you roll bravery.
Okay.
Because this mule is going
Yes.
berserk.
So that is a 4. Gojamir fails.
Okay. So Gojamir, the mule flings you off and throws you into a tree, and you will hit against that, and you're going to take 2 wound levels.
Oof.
As you hit against it, and you hear the and this donkey rushes out into the woods, and then its baying cries kind of stop, and you don't see it anymore. What do you do, Svoboda?
I have leapt from whatever mount I have and pulled out a shield.
Do you have a mount? Are everybody mounted, or was it? Did you bring a horse, or are you on foot?
I don't know what. Triste, what is the general? Are we traveling by foot in general?
I could be either, you know.
Okay. Let's say you're on horseback then.
I like horseback.
Okay.
So
All
I'll
right.
slide off and pull my shield out and probably something like a axe. Probably I can see being some sort of melee weapon, but I think probably an axe. And
Do you want to step in and maybe move to try and engage these things?
I will stay behind me. We have enemies. We must face them, and I will move towards where what's his name? So many names has fallen. Gojamir. Moving towards him to see if he's all right and to make sure nothing's coming at him.
Okay. So you're moving to kind of protect.
Yeah.
To do that. So let's have you roll bravery.
Alrighty. That's a 3.
So as you move to step over to there, that is when this blur comes out of the woods and knocks you down and sends you spiraling away into the tree line, vanishing out of the sight of the others. And you're also going to take 2 wound levels as something is pulling you. You'll see something is pulling Svoboda into the woods. Lily.
Oh, I think I'm following Triste's lead here. Triste was excited, right? Triste was, we found the thing, we got it. I'm like, how do we take hold of it, sir?
Come on, Lily. We must get closer.
So, Triste, you are riding and leaving your friends behind?
Well, I am pushing ahead with the mission single-mindedly with a certain amount of fervor.
Yeah, and Lily just like follows, doesn't even look back, just eyes right on Triste.
Okay, Triste, why don't you roll disarm to get yourself to safety? Roll bravery,
Okay.
and Lily may aid.
I will.
If I need it.
Let's have
Let's have the roll first, but
Triste roll because it could be
Mhm.
awesome after the 2 and the 3.
It is a 6.
Okay, but here's the nice thing: is if Lily succeeds,
Yeah.
then it bumps the success
yeah.
up.
So describe what you were doing to like push past this problem.
We're in this storm, and there. I think maybe I'm just trying to like push through the weather, like trying to get my footing right. And maybe with the clearing, it's like too muddy and I'm like stumbling.
Yeah, so I think I give you my shoulder to lean on and to sort of like as like a physical aid then.
Sure.
And so that's plus might?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Might or bravery, I would need to take either one of those.
Oh, they're the same. So yeah. Let's say might for color.
Be strong, Lily.
Mm-hmm. That's a 3. It's actually snake eyes, but I got +1. I cannot roll for shit tonight. I think I need to clear these dice and create new ones.
That is what Jamie does when the dice betray. She clears them. They clear them, and
I'm gonna follow their lead.
You go to rush forward, and these things are on you. They are black dogs, hounds, baying, pulling at both of you. The thing that is you're trying to look at them and you can't get, your eyes can't land on them. You can't see them. They're always just out of your eyesight, even as they're biting at you. Both of you are going to take 2 wound levels. Let's come back to Gojimir. Wind knocked out of you. Oof. You kind of look up, you see Svoboda try to help you, and then she's pulled away, and you look over and you see your nephew and that girl who follows your nephew, and they are rushing away, running in a particular direction, and then they go down.
I think Gojimir, what are my character moves? Okay, that is that tab. Gojimir, he is going to like scramble to his feet and rush over to where Triste and Lily are, and he's going to try and scramble over and like pick them up and drag them into the temple and be like, go, come on, boy.
Still a ways to the temple, but yeah, you can try to disarm. This is bravery again.
And that is 7.
That is a 7. So on a 7 to 9, you've bought some time, but choose one. Safety demands a sacrifice. It's only temporary. A danger will soon return, or the danger is still present but threatening someone or something else.
I will say it's only temporary.
Okay, so you're pushing forward. You're rushing, pushing Trieste and Lily forward as these things are tearing at your heels. You're bleeding. You're getting closer to that temple, but it is still a ways off, and they are still behind you. Zavoda, these fucking dogs, and they're pulling at you. Hounds biting. You can't quite see them. You're trying to get your hand on your sword, but it's wet and it's rainwater mixed with your own blood. What are you doing?
I'm going to use my champion move, which my expert area is a warrior, and I'm going to reveal a secret about the situation. I think that the church, its temple guards, have a very set, kind of almost mystical warrior tradition. And so you see Svoboda kind of calm herself, center herself for a moment. And as she does, she begins going into these movements, and they're patterned after the constellations. They're named after the constellation sets. And as she begins going into these motions, like we see a dagger drop down from her sleeve, and she begins doing these like intricate motions as she's trying to get away from these dogs and push towards her charges, is what she's trying to do.
It seems like fiercely assault to kind of drive them off from immediately around you.
That's what I'm hoping.
So might, and you're rolling with advantage because of the description you just gave us.
Yay.
There's almost no chance you could fail.
Sure. Oh, that's an 8.
That is an 8. So you drive them off from you. You get space, breathing room. You choose one from the character list, and I choose one from the GM list.
I think the avenue of escape is clear.
Absolutely. So more than actually, dealing permanent harm to them, the blade will slice your movements, cutting and pushing them away. But I think there is that moment when one of them gets the back of one of your legs, and you're going to take an actual wound on that one there as it kind of tears into you.
That puts me into a heavy.
Yeah, you are staggering along there. Let's come back to Triste and Lily. The uncle is pushing you forward. The temple is just off. You can hear that the shouts of Svoboda behind you. She's trying to make way up. These things are still tearing at you. Tell me, Triste, what are you doing? How are you getting past these things? You got that opportunity given by your uncle.
I think that it's like being a vagabond and going into dangerous woods. I think, okay, I got my reliquary with my ancestors. I think that maybe as we're like stumbling forward, trying to like dodge these dogs, if it's at all possible, I take like a moment to be like, how do I clear the pathway? I just want some advice. I think if you want to have my like long game here, I'm looking for like a ritual or something, maybe. This feels like pushing my reliquary a lot, but like to give me some sort of way to resolve.
I would be okay with unearthed forgotten lore, but I think we've just established that rituals take some time.
Yeah. Okay. I will ask and unearth. Lore, right? Yeah.
That's it. Lore's probably pretty good for you, right?
Yes, my lore is a 2.
Yeah. So there's
go.
Almost no chance you could fail.
Clearly. If we've learned anything tonight,
it's that you guys.
It's an 8.
It's an 8. So essentially, you want to know how to kind of clear this path, how to draw the power of the ancestors to do this.
Yeah, how can I draw on this for power? Like what here can reveal to me this?
I think you need to essentially break open this reliquary and scatter its ashes around you to drive them off to give you that moment.
Ooh, I'm gonna do it, but that feels rude.
It is
Sorry,
rude.
ancestor.
Okay. So what I think is that let me think here how we resolve this. You will be able to do that, Lily. I think that you will see Triste kind of throw this and open it up. You kind of have to push people forward. I want you to roll disarm, but with advantage. Gojamir is following along behind, being dragged in the wake of this.
That is finally a good roll. Disarm is with what?
Bravery.
So that is an 11.
So yeah, Lily, you do this ancestors' ashes, a horrible travesty, a sacrifice, just sacrilege. But these things yip and fall back as the three of you push. And there is that moment we kind of feel this almost breakthrough. I mean, the weather doesn't change, but the feeling of pressure on you changes as you kind of fall into the line of this shrine. These things are still close by. So do you want to fight your way through to get to them, Svoboda? Or do you want to just try and make the full break for it?
I think I want to fight my way through.
Okay. Let's have you roll.
All right. That's a 9.
That is a 9. So on a 9, obviously, avenue of escape is clear. And what limb do you lose?
Ooh.
Is it a hand? Is it an eye, an ear? Is it a foot?
For dogs, yeah, let's go with a foot.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and it's not that it's torn off or anything, but they as you kind of are pushing through, you're turning, and one of them bites, and it clenches down, and you can just feel your leg, just the pain kind of ripple through it, and then you fall through, and as you fall in that line, and they're still pulling. It's still pulling in your foot, trying to drag you back behind the line, and you pull yourself through, and then it has to let go.
My foot terribly mauled.
Yeah. But here, look at this beautiful shrine of the ancestors here. Tell me, Darren, since we're just about towards the end time here, what do you learn here?
Oh,
what do you find? What do you learn here? We know that it's something old of your faith, and we know that it definitely is not amenable to the Fae. I'm going to have you kind of set that, and I'm going to ask everybody else to add some detail to that.
Okay. I think what we learned. I think that there are, so this isn't a typical church style, they're different color where there's no roof, but I think that around the walls and columns, there's maybe like a frieze, some sort of like stonework depicting, scenes. And I think what Triste is interpreting is, I think Triste is interpreting basically like a creation story, and is seeing like caves and people living underground and like coming out of the ground and like seeing the sky for the first time.
And Gojamir, your background is in theology. So what is the interesting theological implication that you get from looking around this site?
Well, I think it's very interesting because you see, these are these markings and these propositions come from a sect that is actually a northwestern, from a northwestern province, and the fact that they would be present in Sneadosh, this south, this side of our kingdom, is amazing. It means that at some point followers of the religion must have made some sort of band and must have actually been very prevalent in Sneadosh to have left such a big mark here.
And I love that you have this sort of alternate read on it. You're like, oh, obviously it's followers here, whereas Triste's like, no, it came from here. And I imagine that there's a little back and forth that's going on then at that point. What other weird thing do you find here, Lily? Things maybe something that doesn't maybe fit with those readings, maybe something else here.
So I think they're all, so focused on these like big picture things and like the Fae and the heavens and the gods and is it from here or is it from elsewhere? That they don't notice, like in the corner of the shrine, a small tree sprouting. No, not a small tree. Yeah. A small tree sprouting of the kind that is found up in the north of our kingdom in Mekti.
Ooh.
And it seems like very new. Like it's not something that was here before.
Ooh, interesting.
And I remember of very recently, right, the raids on the Deshta and and hearing about the refilling of the River of Peace. And I wonder if this might be a consequence of that.
Interesting.
And sort of the influence of the teachings of the teachers also penetrating into this shrine.
Interesting, like a spiritual resonance down here of some kind.
Yeah, which is either a part of or countered. Like, I mean, how it interacts with all this other stuff, I have no idea, but I think it's there.
Interesting. And Zaboda, what do you find here to F up those Fae?
I think that we see in the phrase that, we see them looking up to the sky. And as you continue along, you can see like figures, almost maybe divine, that the people, as they look at these people, as they're seeing these great divine heroic types, you could see like a constellation, as though they put it over their heads, almost like a cartouche. But we also can see in that phrase creatures that were on the land already. And we see the constellations reaching down with chains towards them.
Ooh, interesting. Like there's some kind of ritual that can be learned from this.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right. That seems like a good setup. I think that is where we are going to stop with that scene, if that's okay with you. So when we zoom in, next time we're going to zoom out, and that means Valdemar, Dadushka, and Ekaterina, you will get advantage on your house move. You get on your next house move. That's the sort of the Benny for not being in the scene, and so that's actually kind of nice. Does it seem like a good place to stop? Okay. I thought I was going to kill someone. Usually I can kill a quick character or two in one of these scenes. So I'm going to stop recording.